while I personally do not hate Logan Paul, I kinda sorta get what's happening to him. He's fallen into a little bit of a creativity trap, as it were. Um, there's a couple of things that are both good and bad about being creative. On the issue of the good, you can create just about anything that you want within reason and within the limitations of your mind. Alright? But on the bad, just because you have the ability to create anything doesn't mean that you have to create everything. And that's kind of what's happening here with Logan Paul. This guy, it all started ever since that whole thing where he wanted to go to a forest in Japan, the suicide forest, as it's called. I don't remember the actual name of it. And he filmed a man who had just hanged himself and committed suicide. And he went as far as to put that in the thumbnail. He went as far as to show footage of it. And it was just like, hey, this is just something that happens, you know? And we saw it, and yeah, he did have a freak out, which is understandable. He did just see the remains of a deceased individual. But the way that it was executed, and then he tried to say how it was about suicide and how you shouldn't commit it, it was a slap in the face to just about everyone in humanity. You know, I'm not going to say it was inhuman, but I am going to say it was really, really, really stupid. Just the dumbest thing I've ever seen on YouTube. And I've seen some really stupid ass shit. The shit that I've seen on YouTube and the internet in general, it's just, in a way, kind of smart compared to what he did. And he kind of fell into the trap of he can create anything, and he can put it out there, and he'll make money, and this, that, and the other, and people will watch it, and it'll be amazing. And no, that's not how that works. Even the most creative minds, myself included, have to understand our limitations. We have to go over what we are looking at with a fine-tooth comb. You can't just be like, yes, I'm going to do something at the spur of the moment. It's going to be spontaneous. There's going to be very little thought. Yeah, it's going to be controversial, but hey, you know what? As long as I put it out there, people will buy it because, you know, they like me that much. And that's what Paul has fallen into. Because shortly after this, after his short hiatus, he did try to redo a video about it with an apology, which really didn't come off as an apology. And then, all of a sudden, he went right back to what he was doing, but it's like the same shit on a different day. So instead of pushing past the suicide thing and pushing past what he did, which resulted in a whole bunch of stuff and perks and what have you being cut off from YouTube, he decides to go back to pretty much the exact same shit that he was doing. It's like, okay, we did this, it didn't work, it was not as successful as I thought it was going to be, so we laid low for a bit, we collected our thoughts, kinda, sorta, and it's like, we'll do everything else but that. And, oh, jeez. It's just really disheartening. You know? It's right up there with, another YouTuber, Brandon Hampton. Now, he's a streamer on YouTube, or I think he was. He did say that he was finally quitting and giving it up, but he too also falls into the same trap. He figures that he can do and say just about anything and everything, it'll be considered entertainment, and then, there you go, people will watch it, they'll like it, and that'll be it. But that's not the same case either. To put it in a way, when it comes to creativity, I want you to imagine a laser. Now, a beam of energy can always be diverted, it can always be deflected and bounced off of things. You can even split a beam. When it comes to creating something, you want it all focused in one little spot. A simple straight beam that goes from point A, where it's coming from, to its destination. Straight shot. You want to hone it in so it covers what it's supposed to cover. It's within range. It's like a target, if you will. Okay? Well, not like a target. It is a target. And when it comes to Logan Paul and Brandon Hampton, it's basically like shooting a high-powered mirror in a hall of mirrors at any angle that they choose. And it's just a big fucking mess. Sooner or later, that high-powered laser is going to hit something organic and fleshy. Something that might be living and alive, and it's going to be like, ow, I done hurt myself. You know, or they might cut themselves into 1,000 pieces, if, you know, like a bunch of random assholes. When it comes to that type of creativity, where you're just shooting out and going with whatever you want, that can be dangerous. Someone's going to get hurt, and there are going to be consequences for this, like what happened with Logan Paul. He suddenly went back to the concept of doing just zany off-the-wall shit that made no sense, rhyme, or reason. He tased rats. I think he may have did something with birds. Not entirely sure. I tried not to follow stupidity too much for fear that I might lose IQ. But essentially, YouTube saw that he was just doing the exact same shit just on a different day, and they decided that they're not having it anymore. So now he no longer receives monetization, and they've actually become more transparent about this type of thing. If they spot this type of activity, and it's completed and repeated over and over again, they're not going to reward you for it. You will not be making ad revenue or sponsorship or whatever. Because he's doing the exact same shit. And YouTube finally paid attention, and they, put the kibosh on this shit, because it doesn't make any sense. There's unscripted stuff, there's, what do you want to call it? There's improv, and then there's the spur of the moment, there's the heat of the moment, but you gotta be trained in that. It's a skill, just like creativity. You have to have a skill for this type of shit. If all you're going to do is jump in front of a camera and do whatever the fuck you feel like in the heat of the moment, you're not planning anything out, you're not thinking anything through, it's going to come back to bite you in the butt one day. It really is. And that's what's happening with Logan Paul. I mean, tasing rats? What's the strategy on that? How is that entertaining? Exactly. Why would someone sit there and laugh at a dude tasing rats? I don't understand that. That doesn't sound funny to me. That doesn't even sound dangerous. That just sounds really dumb. Like the dumbest shit in America. And there's so much dumb shit happening as it is. So, it's not practical. It's honestly, truly just not practical what he's doing. And until he can figure it out and just find like a way to hone it in so that laser's not going everywhere and cutting him as he goes, he's just going to continue on a downward spiral. Okay, creativity. Being creative is an amazing and fantastic thing. Sometimes it gets you the weirdest of looks. I get that part, because I've had weird looks on some of the things I come up with. I've had those moments where people look at me like I've got lobsters crawling out of my ears. And sometimes it kind of sucks, but at the same time, I can't really blame them, because I can come up with some very zany stuff. But even when I am coming up with something that I am honing and refining and making into something amazing, it can still sound weird. But once it's put together properly, once it's got all the things that I want in it, once it's properly assembled, you get it. You will eventually understand it. And that's a good thing. Logan Paul needs to do that. Another person that just really either needs to do that or just stop altogether is this Hampton Branding guy. I mentioned him earlier. He said that he was quitting streaming, but I don't know if that's really going to last. He might come back, and if he does, he's probably going to be bigger and dumber and more likely going to jail. I mean, the shit that he was doing. And I followed him a little bit more on stuff. Originally, he hung out with Andy Milonakis for a bit, and then he hung out with Ice Poseidon. But even then, it just got out of hand eventually. He was jumping in the cars, in strangers' cars, and he at least tried to. He stole food from a restaurant. How is that funny? What is awesome about that? How is breaking the law a funny thing? I mean, I can see it if people are breaking the law and they're doing it incredibly stupid and they get caught. That makes sense. World's dumbest criminals. Yeah. But how is committing a crime on a live stream funny? I don't get it. I get he's trying to go for the shocking, impromptu type shit, but he's going about it the wrong way. Totally the wrong way. It's like he's trying everything and anything he can to be, to get people's attention and to be the focus of that attention. There's no rhyme or reason to any of it. It's just like with Logan Paul. It's all scattered and fucked up. he has he's creative as hell, but he has no idea how to harness that creativity. He has no idea how to focus it. He's just walking, spur of the moment. He sounds really loud and crazy. It reminds me so much of that incident at the Laugh Factory of Michael Richards back in the, what was it, late 90s and early 2000s, after Seinfeld ended. And in that moment, Michael Richards, he said some, well, I'll just put it this way, he has stayed out of the limelight for a while. Anyway, he dropped the N-word all of a sudden, and that just wrecked him. But that was because he got into the spur of the moment. He gets so heated up and he gets so worked into what he's saying that something slips out eventually. And side note, I don't really hate Michael Richards. He's a cool guy. I've always liked his work. He made a mistake. He fucked up. Hampton Brandon, he's fucking up all the time. The last I heard of him, he was being arrested and charged with some shit, and he might be going to jail for at least 4 to 6 months. I don't know. Maybe that's why he says he's no longer going to stream, because he can't. He's currently incarcerated. His freedom to move around and do shit has become severely retarded. And I'm also using the word retarded in the proper context, so don't even. And it's just really sad. It really genuinely is. If you are creative and you want to express that creativity, you can. You're free to do so. I strongly encourage it. But for God's sakes, think this shit through first. Alright? Please think it through. I can't stress that enough. It is so important. So whatever it is you plan on making, whatever it is you are working on, don't fall into the trap that Logan Paul fell into. Don't think that you can just create anything and do anything and get away with it. We already got one particular guy who thinks he can do that 24/7, and it's not working out too well for him. Just don't fall into that trap, guys. Don't fall into the creativity trap. Gather your thoughts, gather your ideas, give them shape and form, and release. That's what you do. Don't fall into that trap. And this ends another lovely episode of Real Talk with GodOfKnockers. Thank you for watching. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe if you're on YouTube. If you're on Twitch, feel free to, follow my channel, which is twitch.tv/GodOfKnockers. Go ahead and post a comment in chat. And if you want, subscribe. Every little bit does help. I want to thank you very much for your time and efforts. Happy creating, happy streaming, and it's the 13th. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody. Laters.